Okay, welcome to another edition of the Above the Bridge podcast. I'm your host, Thaddeus. I want to take this time to shout out our sponsor. First up, we have Defend Hawaii. If you go to their website, defendhawaii.com, go check out what they have. Their new fall line should be out by now. They also have a store, Windward Mall, called No One. Go check them out, defendhawaii.com, promo code ATBPod upon checkout. You'll receive 15% off whatever you order, so go check them out. Next, we have iRep Detail Supply, and these guys have a store in Temple Valley Shopping Center in Kahalu. Everything you need to wash, wax your car. They got buffers, polishes, things to make your car smell good, to black that rubber around the windows in the back. Yeah, I got all that stuff. I just did my truck recently and use all his products. So go check them out. Also on their website, irepdetailsupply.com, promo code ATBPod upon checkout. You'll receive 15% off your entire purchase order. Next, we have Hawaii Candy Factory. And if you go to their website, hawaiicandyfactory.com, they have a bunch of crazy local snacks. You see their candies everywhere in NOMS packages. They're at all the craft fairs. Check them out, hawaiicandyfactory.com, promo code ATBPod upon checkout, and you'll receive 10% off your entire purchase order. And last but not least, we have our latest sponsor. It's Medicinal Mushrooms Hawaii. And they came out with lion's mane and chaga tinctures, and you either drip the tincture under your tongue or I put it in my coffee every morning. Lion's mane, if you don't know what it does, it's been known to increase energy, memory, focus, and improve your mood. The chaga mushroom is known to boost your immunity, fight inflammation, and balance out your gut health. I've been taking both of these on the daily, and it's definitely a game changer. If you go to their website, medmushroomhigh.com, promo code ATBPod, when you check out, all capitals, you'll receive 40% off your first tinctures of lion's mane or chaga. So go check them out. And they also have an Instagram, Medicinal Mushroom Hawaii on Instagram. Go check them out. Aloha. Okay, this week on Above the Bridge podcast, this is episode 99. My guest is somebody I've known for a long time in the local Hawaii MMA scene, and he's had a MMA magazine that came out every now and then, and he did a cover comic book on one of my favorite Hawaii local fighters, Russell Doan. He's also one of my good friends, and he moved, but he got some new stuff coming out, so I wanted to talk to him. He reached out, and I figured this would be the best time to kind of touch base again. King Eddie, what's up, man?
What's going on, brother? It's good.
How
Good
you
to
been?
good to talk story, man. Good to talk story. It's cool, man. It's cool. Been pretty good. It's just, it's a transition. Ever since I moved here, it's like when people ask like what I do in Hawaii, and just telling those stories has probably been the best thing about living here. Just being able to tell people.
Yeah. Well, you got a beard now. You got a ponytail.
About 40, 50 extra pounds. Like, you know how it is, man. You get a little older, you enjoy the smaller things like food.
Yeah. Especially, how many kids do you have now?
3.
Oh, okay. That's that's a lot of work, bro.
teenage daughter, 10-year-old daughter who acts like a teenage daughter, and a 1-year-old son. So it's pretty crazy sometimes.
Yeah, my daughter just turned 13, and I literally could tell the change in her personality the day she turned 13. It was like I could pinpoint the moment.
Yeah. Like as soon as I stopped being the cool parent, I was like, man, what is going on? It's she's 14. That's pretty much, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing to do.
I'm having a little struggle realizing that she's not my little tiny girl anymore. she don't want to hold daddy's hand in the mall or anything like that. She wants to cruise with her friends, and I'm trying to loosen the reins and understand it's part of life, but I don't know. It all the first training bra and the mutty was what got me the most shook.
Yeah, man, it's tough. Like, so what I've learned is the older they get, the more they want to be the person that you showed them how to be, right? And they want to be able
Yeah.
to do it without your guidance. So just I think of those moments when they had in my head, I had to imagine when I like let go of the bike, and like how proud I was, but I was terrified. Like I was
Yeah.
terrified. Oh man, she's gonna get hurt or whatever. But they do their own thing. So when all that started, yeah, I had to just let go of the bike. It's definitely not easy, and it's not
Yeah.
fun. It's
Nope.
not fun, but the fun part is being able to sit back and watch some of the decisions they make and know that you influenced it by being there.
Yeah, it's that's a good analogy, letting go of the bike and letting them experience stuff on their own. But shoot, I know you for how many years, and you were deep in the Hawaii MMA community, and it
Yeah, bro.
it was I had a few people on recently on my show that were from the old school MMA Hawaii, and bro, I really enjoyed that time of the history of Hawaii MMA, because for me it's not the same, and I don't think it ever will be when super
No,
brawls and icons and all that.
so the crazy thing about my story was I really didn't actually ever intend to like move to Hawaii and do the things I did. But like a little bit along the way, like from when I was a little kid until I finally moved, it was like I was influenced by these things. Like I used to go to this gas station in this little town in South Carolina on my way to school. They had like biscuits and like I could get a soda, and you could rent VHS tapes. And I rented Super Brawl. Like every time I could get it, I rented Super Brawl. And it was like I never even knew that was, in Hawaii until I got deep into it. So when I ended up moving there and working in MMA, it was like it just kind of clicked. I was like, this is the reason this is so fulfilling is because this is my childhood. Like we are trying to keep those, traditions alive. We're trying to keep that competitiveness. And because if you watch old school Super Brawl, man, that was like it rivaled Pride and
Oh
UFC. I mean,
yeah.
there were hammers.
Yep.
So it was fun. It was definitely fun.
Yeah, and they had a lot of the mainstream fighters fighting in Super Raw because there were no exclusive contracts. So you could see a Vitor or Matt Hughes or like BJ or whoever fight in local shows. And bro, those shows would sell out the Blaisdell, like when Egan fought Masanori, or Mayhem Miller and Robbie Lawler. Like, bruh, that
Mm-hmm.
like those that time of MMA in Hawaii was probably the best.
So like my actual entry into everything, it plotted out. I wasn't like the dude that was like at the events and like putting myself out there yet, but I had begun working on like a catalog with MMA Hawaii and kind of talking to them about what I could do. I was not supposed to be a photographer. I was not supposed to do a lot of the stuff that I ended up doing, but it was just, it was such a good environment that they taught me everything. And so I kept doing whatever I could. But the first event that I actually like took notes on for them was the last icon with Kalakalohe and
Oh,
Mayhem, I believe it was. It was pretty nuts, man. And to kind of see that go out, I was like, oh man, like what's next? What are we going to do next? And like the next 10 years of my life became, that time that we all existed in. And what's crazy is, I don't know if I ever said it to you, but you can ask numerous people. I told them all the time, this is the good old days. Like the stuff that's happening right now is what you're going to look back on. And man, I was right.
yep,
It was a time,
100%.
it was a
Yeah,
time like no other. And
yeah,
so it's beautiful to think about.
yeah. I don't know if you've seen recently. TJ from Icon and Superbra, he's been releasing these videos on Instagram and TikTok, and oh man,
Yeah, yeah.
his narration brings you back, man.
Dude,
And
it's like hidden gems. I can't believe more people aren't going nuts over this. Like, people need to go check out TJ's Instagram and TikTok and wherever he's putting it out, because it's exactly, and TJ is like such a character. Like, he's just bigger than he knows he is. He is a presence. Like, I always used to think about meeting TJ like that was like the part of season 2 where you meet the new main guy. Like, when you see TJ, you feel like you already know him. He
yeah,
commands presence, and also at the same time, like, he shoots some pretty cool uh behind the scenes like talk. You can tell he's emotional, you can tell he cares, and that's part of what made everything he did so successful.
yeah, it was a good time, and I run into him at 24-hour fitness every now and then, and I always talk to him about the old school stuff. I'm trying to get him on the show and stuff. And yeah, he's definitely a big personality and a huge influencer that impacted Hawaii's MMA scene. Like, without him, I don't think a lot of these guys would have got the shine that they did. Like, Egan Inoue,
Mhm.
Nico, Falnico Vitali. Like, bruh, I remember he
Robbie Lawler.
yeah, I remember when he fought Nico and his sister ran into the ring after he knocked out Nico. I was there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, it's crazy, right? Eddie Yagan, like, that's the other part about being a part of MMA in Hawaii, is like, I don't give a crap if people don't know these names that I'm saying,
Yeah.
because I know what they mean, right? Eddie Yagan was the godfather of my second daughter. Like,
Oh
he
wow.
came to the hospital when she was born, and like straight up almost took out the security guards, like, because he was trying to get up and see her. But like, Eddie Yagan was in wars. Marco Shiro was in wars. I mean,
Mark the
like,
Shark, yo.
yeah, man. So it's like a lot of these people, and now Egan and Ensign, they went on and did things here and there and all these other places and gained like other notoriety. But like, for a while there, man, that's what Robbie Lawler was known for, coming to Hawaii and like solidifying himself as a champion. And like, by
Yeah.
the end of it, dude, people loved Robbie Lawler.
Oh yeah. Even Mayhem.
Yeah,
He would just come
yeah,
and
man.
beat all the local stars. He beat Ron John, he beat
Mhm.
Nico, he beat Egan. Yeah, it was like, bro, this
Frank
guy is just
Trigg.
yeah, yeah. He couldn't he couldn't be stopped. I mean, it's
Mm-mm.
unfortunate how his career ended up, but I thought when he got to the UFC he was gonna make a splash, but it didn't work out as well as I thought it would though.
Yeah, man. A lot of things happen, and that's, I think, one of the cool things about MMA and what I did. Basically, I just listened to a lot of people and listened to their story, and then kind of like try to find a way to make this important to other people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, see the heart in it, see the things about it. And like, so from an outside perspective, I could always isolate these times, these bubbles, and say, man, yeah, I never went big in the UFC like they thought. Like, Frank Trigg didn't have the greatest UFC career. Robbie had a great comeback, but there was a
Yeah.
long period of time where it just wasn't happening. But look at the kings they were.
Oh yeah,
Like,
for
when
sure.
they will forever have, like, and I know it's the same with me, it's the same as with all of them. They will always remember Hawaii fondly. Like, they will
Yeah.
always, that this is part of me, this is part of what made me who I am. And trust me, Hawaii threw the kitchen sink at those guys.
Oh yeah.
you know,
They did some damage though. They won the hearts of Hawaii fans though. I remember Mayhem, nobody liked him and he just kept winning, and yeah, after a while everybody was just fans of him.
yeah. Well, like, I think the hard part with Mayhem was like, I don't think Mayhem ever really captured the you can be yourself, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to stir. He was Conor McGregor before Conor McGregor was there.
Yeah.
Like he was standing there. I remember when he was sitting there just straight talking smack about like Mark Moreno, and I was like, I wouldn't do that, bro. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't, because that was like some down home local boy that was just smashing fools, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
like, Mayhem, you don't want none of that. I mean,
Yeah.
he ended up beating Mark, but it was one of the things that it helped the locals stand behind their people. It gave
Yeah.
them, it kind of made it like tradition, right? Like
Yeah.
this is my guy. Like, and that's just what Hawaii's known for. Once you beat all of our guys, then we're kind of like, all right, you're our
You're the
guy.
guy.
You can be one of our guys. It's totally
Yeah.
cool.
So then
It's
they
a
had
fun,
to
it's a fun,
yeah, they had to fly down other people to fight him, and he was our guy after that, and then he would
yeah,
fight Robbie Lawler, Frank Trigg, and yeah, he was like
yeah,
the whole hometown, our hometown guy at one point.
yeah. It's unfortunate the road he went down, but at the same time, again, like I said, man, like people focus a lot on where things end up or but everything's just a chapter. It doesn't, it's
Yeah,
not over for Mayhem. Like he's not doing great right now, but like he said it himself, like not too long ago, like with younger him behind the wheel, he would have made no other choice. He would have been a fighter. He would have done all the things. And I think that he has a lot of positive to look at. Just like when Robbie Lawler retired from the UFC by winning via knockout, I
yeah.
know that in those moments right after it happened and he knew it was over, I promise you his time in Hawaii flashed.
Oh
I
yeah,
promise that he was
it's
like, oh, that was,
guarantee.
so that's kind of one of the things. It's like Hawaii's always held such a huge place for mixed martial arts, and a lot of people don't understand that it was really kind of brewed into perfection there, with TJ and those guys, and Rumble on the Rock, Rich Chu, like everybody was doing their very best to compete not only with the UFC but with pride,
Yeah,
and it was a beautiful place for it to start. I'm glad that I got to be a part of it for as long as I did, and during the time that I did, because I feel like that time was very formative,
yeah. So what actually were you doing in the MMA scene? I know you had a lot of hands-on with your photography, and you created a magazine that kind of let the stories of the fighters be told, like, because there was no really media for them at that time. There was no TV shows or like,
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I mean, like Egan had his show, um and I believe the guy from Wahua, Herman Santiago, or
hmm.
yeah, he won. Jonathan Vistante was on the show. Like it was a local
Oh, it
thing,
was
and
like
like
a reality show, right?
yeah, it was like
Yeah,
tough, right? But
yeah, yeah,
and I think it gained some traction, but I think that people always separated, you mainstream from MMA for no reason really. Like it was already popular, but for some
yeah,
reason the mainstream had a problem. So, like one of the things that we focused on, was real people, was one of our like mantras, right? Real people, real fighters. And so every time in the book I would always get pictures of crowds, families, fighters with their kids, like these are real people. Um, and once we kind of started telling stories about things other than an MMA fighter beat up his wife, and then you look up the fighter and you realize it's like some guy that's like 36 and he fights at like Hawaiian Brian's, and you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's like they're not representative. So like what we try to do was just represent the truth, like the really cool stories, the things that make things great. Um, we got to follow so many cool people, man.
yeah. And you guys were consistent. Like you guys would drop a magazine like pretty consistently, huh?
Yeah, we used to do it every month, and then it got to be like every 2 months. Stayed like that for a while because there was so much stuff. There were more events were happening, right? So we had more event
Yeah.
coverage, and I'm sitting there shooting like 1,000 pictures in a night and having to go home and like trying my best to get these things edited up on the site by that night, because I know fighters want to see their shots, and
Yeah.
I know that families want to see their stuff. And then I spend all the rest of the time, like at one point in like 2011, I was like, I'm going to talk to every MMA gym that I can and get like the story of the gym. And dude, I did that for years and I didn't even get halfway through them. I mean, there's so many awesome gyms, there's so many garage gyms, there's so many
Oh
super
yeah.
good coaches and really good talent. It was like it was the perfect thing to be doing at the time.
Right. Did you have like a regular job or you're just doing that?
Nah, bro, I was just doing that all day, every day. Like it was, I mean, people thought about it one way and they're like, oh, there's like 20 million of those guys. Nah, man, small hammer team, do our jobs, have a little bit of fun, but we got to know people, we got to be around, we got to see everything. And then we did our job. And that was it. We tried to do it with no bias. We tried to do it with no favoritism, with no like I was going to tell the truth. If the
Yeah.
local boy fought the Washington guy, I wasn't going to say he got robbed, you know.
Yeah. Did
Um
you did you ever get any backlash from any of the fighters? Like they read, oh really?
yeah, man, sometimes, and it's a nature of the beast, right? Like
Yeah.
people are hyped up about stuff, and a lot of things that you do in fighting is draw a reaction. So fighters would give answers in videos, and then when the video comes out and they don't look so great, it's like, man, why'd you shoot it like that? And I'm like, we talked about this. I told you exactly what I was going to ask you. I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show you what your opponent said. Like we're just going to,
Yeah.
once people realized that it was fair all the time, like everybody had a shot, man. I think that was when the respect came. I wasn't the best photographer. Greg Honda existed. Any photographer in or around Greg Honda, the best you can hope for is second best. But it's cool because I got to kind of see the master work. Laurie K. I had seen John Bernard was on,
Oh
and
yeah.
like he's telling the truth, man. That's kind of, if that's where you look. There was another photographer. His name was Vadim. He shot for MMA Hawaii some. He was like, in and out. People didn't really notice him, but he took killer shots. It was fun to be around for sure.
Yeah. So what kind of led to the this, like is it still going on or like what kind of ended stopping it?
Um, Honestly, just time.
Hmm.
Like, as MMA grew and as everything grew, it's like I said, we're even, we were fair. We tried to give everybody a shot, but as everything kind of grew, and so did my family and time, and it just got to be where if we're not giving 100% to every last person, if we're not doing all this, then there comes a time, where things have to stop. And everybody asks me all the time, like, when or you should start that back, you should do that again. And
That was gonna be my next question.
I want to so bad, but the fact is I would do it because I wanted to go back in time.
Yeah.
And I can never do that again, right? Like, I don't want to cheapen what we had, and what we made, and kind of that whole era, because it'll always be compared.
Yeah. You still have any the old magazines and stuff? You ever look through
Yeah,
them?
dude, like all the time. All
I
the time.
have I have one that Russell was in and he was featured in and he autographed it as one of my Russell Doan who
Yeah,
eventually got to fight in the big show and you made a comic book out of it, right? About
yeah.
him and
I made a comic. So basically, I got tired of like waiting to have money, or waiting to have an artist, help me. I can't draw worth crap. I can practice for another 20 years, and I'll still only be so good. But I knew I wanted to make comics, so I just took. I remember there was this one fight with Russ and this mainland guy, and it was like, this is gonna be, you know, a bloodbath, and it was. Like,
was that the
usually, if
King of the Cage one?
No, that one right before the King of the Cage one.
Oh, okay.
They did this one at Aloha Tower at the pier, like inside. You
Oh,
remember at
okay.
that
Yeah,
when
I
they
was
had
there
all
for that.
the
Yeah,
weird lights, yeah. And so like
yeah,
remember I remember the guy got him in a guillotine, and like it was like, oh man, like that was like the third fight that
yeah.
Russ got on the guillotine. It was like, stop, you gotta. But like where I was sitting, I could see his face, and he just looked pissed. And like
It
people,
was in
they
tight too, huh?
yeah, they people
Yeah,
know Russ. They see the jokey clowny guy, but like they don't call that dude bully for nothing, man. Like
yeah,
I saw him get mad, and I was like, oh, this is it. This dude's gonna die. And then
yeah.
Russ just beat him down. So I got like 30 good shots. Normally in a good fight, man, I might get like two really killer pictures, and the rest is just like trying. But I had so many, and I was like, I can tell a story with this. So I made this little comic, Darkest Before Dawn. And we did that. Defend Hawaii helped me out with that. Philly Poly Love, they helped me out. There was a lot of local people that kind of just helped me make this book for the sake of making it. But I don't think what people realized was like then all the comic book people were like, oh, this dude's legit. He straight up made a book, no artist. So like that, at least we know he can handle all this other crap, right? Like he can do the layouts, and he can do this, and he can do that. So that's kind of what got me into it. I
Was that
did
your first
also,
one?
that was the first one I made, and working with the magazine helped because I learned about everything I needed to learn. Editing and all this kind of stuff. um I've probably been writing comics my whole life, just waiting on the right people to want to do it with me,
Hmm.
because that's what it takes. Like it's anybody that wants to go into comics, or anybody that wants to go into like MMA reporting, like it's crazy how similar they are. People are fanatical about it. You have to get things right. You have to pay attention. And also it takes more than one person to make this thing real. So you have to like listen to other people and work with them, not just say, this is what I want, make it. Like that's not how creative collaboration works. So
Yeah.
learning from MMA Hawaii, dude, and going into comics, it was like I left Oahu and came here to kind of like be able to travel with cons, be able to go and be a part of the culture, right? Because
Okay.
comic books are loved more by people that create them than anybody else. um and like I'll go to a comic book convention and try to make money, and I'll straight up spend like $1,000 on like original art from people, because you buy your friends books. You do like comic book conventions with the creators, not the fans, but between the creators is like the closest thing to Aloha I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
Like everybody supports each other. Like don't get me wrong, you got your people that do the thing.
Yeah.
um and it's a creative industry, so there's lots of button heads, but like at the end of the day, chips are down. Everybody's gonna support the next guy. Everybody's gonna help the artist, tell the story. They look for new things. They don't care if it's better than theirs. That's relative.
That's
um
definitely the definition of aloha. Yeah.
yeah, so it's building that community, and then making sure that that community facilitates a lot of different people. And i hate to be I hate to be in the position that I'm in sometimes, because like it shouldn't be this way. There should be more representation of a lot of things. um but right now, like being Polynesian is a thing that people understand now. you
Yeah.
know Being from Hawaii, people understand there's like a swagger from Hawaii that's like no other. There's a way you talk, there's a way you hug, there's a way you do everything. It's cool. Like people in the mainland, just they're like, yeah, aloha, bro. Like they think every
Yeah.
like, and even though it's like a caricature of what Hawaii truly is, it's like they're only with what they've been shown.
Yeah.
So after years of hearing all the stories and being around all the people and like living all the places that I lived, it was like these are stories that can be told. Like this is a thing that like Hawaii can be represented in a relatively unique way and still shed light on some things, you know. So people look at my book and, you know, they're like, this guy, but they don't know. They don't
Yeah.
know. Like old school MMA guy, if he was sitting down and somebody said, "Oh yeah, this guy King Eddie made a book called Mauka," like he knows what's up. Old school MMA guy would be like, "Oh, I know that guy, yeah."
Yep, exactly.
He knows what's up.
Well,
Like,
sometimes those are the stories that's the most inspiring. Like you have no idea until you read it.
I think for me, it's like I got tired of my kid only having Moana to look at, right?
Mm,
Because even
yeah.
that was watered down and crazy, and I have no idea what's going to happen with the next iteration. Like, you know, and I started noticing people like putting my kid in a box of Moana, you know, and a lot of people don't realize, but when you have kids with Native Hawaiian blood, like, pick up your books, bro.
Yep.
You're gonna start learning. You
Yep.
got, you know, like somebody's, that's the whole point of the culture, right? Like, you know, when you lose your words, you lose your identity. You
Yeah.
know, learn the language, learn the ways you speak to each other, learn, you know, it doesn't even have to be every historical Hawaiian story. I could just tell my kids about the auntie down the road that used to bring us food, you know, when they were too little to remember.
Yeah.
Um, you know, when my kids get to come back to Hawaii, they're gonna know they're loved.
Yep.
Um, you know, so kind of part of that was giving my kids something to look at. Even though this book is like mature, my kids can't ever look at it until they're like grown-ups. Um, I feel like maybe they'll understand a little bit more about some of the things that they see in me and in their mother and in Bree. And, you know, we have a
Yeah.
very Hawaii community over here in South Carolina. So,
Oh,
um,
nice.
yeah. So like when they see that in those other people and they're like, man, what is it about dad and his friends like yelling Chiu and like, you know, um, it's just, it's a fun thing to try to bring to light. Like I can never tell stories about your experience. I can
Yeah.
never tell stories about the quintessential local life. But like what I lived there was what I lived there. What I witnessed there was what I witnessed there. And that's what comes through. That everybody's kind of part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So how many comic books have you created after Russell's was the first and you kind of kept going or
Yeah, well, okay, so when I came home and I went to the comic book conventions and I got in with the people, um, I found out that the comic book world is just like the MMA world. When you go to the convention, uh, all the artists stay in the same hotel right across the street,
oh
just like the fighters. You know, after the show, everybody goes to the bar at the hotel. You know, and that's where you like meet people and talk, and the faces are different, but the people are the same. So I could walk into the room and having worked so many events in Hawaii, I knew who was supposed to be there. I could see how they acted, how they interact with other people. I could see the people that I liked. You know, they weren't just trying to sell themselves. They weren't just trying to sell their book. Um, and I got into that. And so like one of the artists that did a variant for Mauka, his name is Justin Greenwood. He's done like a ton of good comics that have turned into TV shows and all kinds of stuff that people would know. They just don't know him. And the way that I got in with him was the first night of the convention, the fights were on, and I was like, sorry, not going out. Like I'm watching the fights, you know. And me and him and this other artist and a few other guys, we just sat in a hotel room, and me and Justin Greenwood straight like heavy watched this fight, and he outpicked me. Nobody outpicked me. And
oh
you know, he outpicked me, and I was like, man, you got to give that guy respect. He knows his stuff. But most of my friends in comics came from being the MMA guy. Everybody obviously like, oh man, what's Max like? Yeah. And I'm always like, he's been so many things since I
Yeah.
met him. He was a kid and
Yo, fighting in
like
O Lounge.
yeah, like I remember when he did the thing on the stage at level 4. Remember when they put
Oh, that's right.
the
Yo,
cage on the
yo.
stage, man. Like I have a picture of Max from that event, and like every time I feel old and I want to feel a little older, I look at that and it's like,
Yo,
man, how far we've come.
yo. First time I seen him fight, he was 16. He had Little Evil tattooed on his stomach, bleach hair, and he was kickboxing in the middle of O Lounge in a little X1 cage.
Yeah, the little one, yeah. And
Yo,
he always had like the tassels for his
yeah, yeah,
trunk, so
yo,
they're always like gold and purple. It
yo.
was cool, man.
He had
He,
action back then. He had that it factor back then. He was larger than life as a little kid.
look, man, like the crazy thing is like when I look at how it's viewed now versus how it was viewed at the time,
Oh yeah.
people just stop and don't realize how much crap this kid took from his own people. Like
Oh yeah.
there were people that were like, he doesn't even deserve to be on the same card as these other guys. And like Max literally took everything they threw at him
Yeah.
and came out on top. And like, how do you not love that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He fought some hammers early too when he was young, like some seasoned vets.
Yeah. And when he fought Harris Sarmiento, like,
Yeah.
look, man, Max could have never had a UFC career. And for me, that fight was like, it was, I mean, dude, Harry has like parades in the Philippines when he
Yeah.
goes. Like
Yeah, he
he
had like 40 100 fights. He used to fight
yeah,
every weekend.
he fought everybody. Like when I
Yeah.
talk to like old school MMA guys now, they'll be like, "Do you know Harris Sarmiento?" I'm like, "Of
Yeah.
course."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know Harry. Matter of fact, I think he was like the last issue of
Oh,
the magazine we ever did was Harris, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool one, man. I got to go take pictures and hang out and like, nerd
Yeah.
out. That's all I've ever done. Like I just go nerd out with the fighters,
Yeah.
and Harry's such a nice guy. Max was great. Like there were so many good ones, man. But
Yeah.
that knowledge is what gets me entry to other things, right? So people they ask me questions and they get legitimate answers and legitimate stories and like, I was there. It kind of makes people take me a little more serious in other things that I want to do.
Yeah. Well,
So,
what
you know,
what was your the comic books you used to be into growing up and still to this day?
okay, so Spider-Man,
Okay.
absolutely. Um, Lots of iterations of Spider-Man. I mean, like the Spider-Verse thing is like a new thing to people now, but like, no, bro. Like, I remember I used to go to the comic book shop on every Wednesday and I would buy like Amazing Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, like,
Oh.
Spider-Man Black, like all kinds of different stuff. Um, but right around high school, I fell into creator owned comics. So like not Marvel, not DC, but like The Walking Dead. I love The Walking Dead. It was a great
Hmm.
comic. It was a black and white comic. I mean, it went on for years and I was all in for that. Invincible, which is now a TV show on Prime.
Okay.
Like Invincible, I grew up with Invincible. Like I was a teenager when I picked up the book and so was he. And then by the end of the book, like he's got his own children, I've got my children. It's crazy how everything like happens. Invincible is definitely my favorite comic of all time ever.
Oh wow. That's
And
interesting. You kind of grew up with them.
yeah, that's just what I like, that's kind of like how I put it. Like when people ask me how do I love Invincible, which is like a very mature, very gory, very, cuss word riddled book that basically makes fun of all other superhero books by outdoing them. So if there's a big fight scene, it's going to be big and gory.
Mm.
If, like buildings fall down, it's going to show people dying. Like characters come back after years and say, my family was in that building that you knocked over and I'm here to kill you. Like it was crazy how everything mattered. And that book kind of, it made me want to make comics, made me want to like I got, so people were telling stories like I wanted to tell stories, which was like
Oh,
brutal and real and just kind of like gritty, but still have the cartoony aftertaste. You still, like in a comic book, you can do something crazy. Like in my book, in the first few pages, a dude gets curb stomped, and like beat to death. Then like the next page over, these two guys are like walking back to their little, area that where their group is, and they're just making jokes the whole way, like talking crap about each other, trying to race, just being, smacking each other with slippers. Like you can turn on a dime in comics. So the
that's
creator on
super cool.
stuff really got into my head. Like I got my favorite artists, my favorite writers, my favorite stories. There's a book called Deadly Class that's one of my all-time favorites. Makes me cry all the time when I read it.
Oh,
um there's lots of books that my friends have done now that I can look at the book and appreciate it for so much more than just the story. Like I know what these
oh,
guys went through to make these books. I know how many years they put everything down. So like there's not a day that happens that I don't wake up and love comics more.
that's pretty cool. That's inspiring too. If of course, of what you're trying to do. Shoot, I was never that into comics, but I had one that I was into, and it's kind of silly. It was called Gru. I don't know if you ever heard of Gru. That was my
Yeah,
guy,
bro.
man. He was a silly little weird dorky samurai dude that was overweight and just like he wasn't that smart. He was kind of dumb, but he could fight.
Yeah.
I had tons of his books. That was the only guy I ever followed.
It was like there was Gru, and then there was one called Bone, and it was kind of a similar. Bone was a similar thing. It was just a little
Oh, okay.
squiggly guy, and like his story seemed so small, but then like after a long time, you realize how big this story is, and it was
Yeah.
always the little stuff for me. Calvin and Hobbes has to be hands
Oh.
down like the greatest, most perfect comic ever made. I mean, everybody understands what's happening in Calvin and Hobbes, like, and it just all ages, right? So
Yeah.
it comes in all shapes and sizes. I have a friend that did Squirrel Girl for Marvel, and I remember thinking, oh God, buddy, I don't know how you're gonna make this. I don't know how
Make
you're gonna
this
make this
cool.
popular, but they did it, man. Like, people have new ideas. You just got to let them, stretch them a little bit.
Yep, that's how magic happens, man. So you recently dropped one that's out now, and tell me about this one, your inspiration and what's it all about right now.
All right, so Mauka is a book that you know, I've spent a lot of time doing this, man. I probably started writing that story like 15 years ago,
Hmm.
and it's just kind of grown. Like the longer I put it off, like I didn't want to work with just anybody on it. I didn't want to rush the story. I didn't want to be married to anything. Kind of let it grow, and we finally got we kickstarted it and got like enough to do a small print run. But basically, I was just making this book in its entirety, like the first issue entirely, to just give to publishers. Because most people are pitching like 5 or 6 pages and saying, yeah, well, if we have time and money, we can do this. And I'm like, I don't need that. Like, this is what we do. Um, I started working with an artist. I got published in Image. My friend Kyle had a book called Spread. And I worked on a what's called a backup story. It kind of like tells the story between issues. It's kind of like how some people writers get their start, And so I got published by Image. I worked with a guy named Ross Taylor. We meshed well. We did good, but he went on and did other things, and then Kyle came back to me and had another book called Unearth, and he wanted us to do a backup story. And he told me, hey, there's this guy that's in my class at the Art Institute in Kansas City, and it was Marco DeFio. And so he's like, "This is Marco. just work with him and you guys can do this. So we did a 3-page backup story for Unearth, and like that was the one. Like that was the one. It was seamless. We worked well together. He understood what I was doing. You know, I wanted him to grow as well as me. So, you know, we definitely shared it. And then it was like, this is it. This is the guy. Like, he's from Puerto Rico. He understands the island boy thing. And
Nice.
so we make
So
this
he was
book,
the artist.
Mauka. Yeah, he's the artist. Yeah. So
Okay.
make this book, Mauka, and, you know, it took a really long time to be able to come off of some of this stuff. Like, it's inspired a lot by, you know, people that I know, and, you know, situations that I've seen. So it basically takes place on Oahu, like after the world ends, basically, or as far as they know, the world ends. At one point, they call this the silence. It's when all the communication dropped off. No more boats came. No more planes came. They're just kind of out there. And as resources dry up and things start to, you know, you have all these people in these different places doing their part, and there's, you know, there's gonna be trouble. Right? Like there's
Yeah.
always gonna be people coming for power and coming for things, but it's like a dystopian story but set on Oahu. And what's crazy is it's like, the point of the book, I call it Mauka, because this first leg of the story, it's like they're all trying to reach the top of this mountain, right? They all want to kind of see what's around them. They all want to know what's really going on. And you know, I have a second, if the book does well, then I have a second story called Makai, where it's like, you know, the danger is actually coming from the water and whatever. But the cool thing about it is being able to tell a story in like a dystopian time frame where, for the most part, all the tribes of people get along. You
Yeah.
know, like everybody has their part. They do their part. Like everybody knows, don't mess with chemo on the west side, bro. Everybody knows, you know, if you want your country boy stuff, you gotta leave the east side alone. Let them do their thing.
Yeah.
Like everybody plays a role. Um, and I just get to tell a bunch of stories about, you know, hypothetical situations, like what would happen if this happened. And I imagine people that I know and what they would say. So there's obviously a lot of like, what you fuck like. That's been the hardest part, is like trying to explain to the world that the F word is like a comma in Hawaii. So it's,
It could be endearing, it could be a fight, or it could be like something you
you
do.
could just be joking. You could just be
Yeah.
joking. It's like, as a matter of fact, most people think this is hilarious. So on the first page of the book, I put a vocabulary list
Yeah.
to kind of like tell people, you know, like what the kind is, and like pauhana, the use of the word let at, like what.
Yeah.
It's so simple, you would think people would understand, but a lot of times they don't. So
It's
I got to
tricky to
put some of that,
explain, huh?
but it takes something away from it if I don't
Yeah.
tell the story in those words, right?
Yeah.
So
It's
when,
not real.
right, and so it's like, you know, I obviously hope that more things come from. So I would love to get, like, you know, get this optioned to do like a movie or a TV show or something, because honestly, I think it's entirely viable. I mean,
Yeah.
and the best part about it is, if that were the case, like, you tell me who wouldn't want to be a part of it. Like
Yeah.
in Hawaii, people would be able to, you know, and things grow.
Yep.
So taking
Let
input from people.
let me know, man. I know a bunch of filmmakers that love passion projects like that could spark something, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the hardest part is just letting people know that, like, I don't have any soapbox I'm standing on. It's
Yeah.
just it's just the most heartwarming and cool thing for me to tell those stories through, because that's who I really am. Like, that's where I'm at in my head all the time. I'm back home, you
Yeah.
know. Honestly, the best thing that happened around here lately was John Bernard moving to Charlotte.
Yeah.
I mean,
He comes with all that mood. He's his own mood, man. He's definitely aloha, and definitely somebody who has passion, and yeah, he's a killer. Yeah,
yeah,
he's
dude.
yeah.
I brought him to my work barbecue for 4th of July. Like he came to that. He came to my son's birthday party. Like I came to his fight. It was, having that person. We went to Texas Roadhouse and like just me and his brother Chris and him. We just talk story forever, and it's like being able to kind of confirm in my head, like, yeah, this really happened. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm really more comfortable there, and there's reasons why I'm more comfortable in Hawaii, and there's reasons why, a lot of my kind of passion to tell stories from there is because that's where I found myself.
Yeah.
John moved to the mainland, but John found himself. Even if it was just looking back, he found himself, in Hawaii. He knew he went through all the battles. That's kind of
Yeah.
like, it's kind of the path we have, right? Like anybody who moves from Hawaii to the mainland, it's like that's a tough thing to wake up every day, because
Yeah.
even if you have
Sounds
something
like it.
good,
Yeah.
man, the fact of the matter is, it's like you're in a different place and it shows.
Do you have dreams and hopes of coming back here?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like that is 100% on the table. Just trying to utilize everything that I have now. Like, I'm like everybody else. I came here, tried to chase comics, and then I got a regular job and had to pay more attention to that, take care of my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got another job, and I'm trying to kind of operate both things at one time. But now it's like I realized that everybody I came up with in comics, like from day one, these guys are like all the way up here now. Like they've done all the work. They're open books, man. They tell me anything I want to know. Like they will help me. Other than doing it for me, they'll
Yeah.
they'll help me in any way they can. So like if I can maximize a way to like keep that pipeline open, keep the ability to still work so fluidly with these people, I would come home in a flipping heartbeat. I would love to give, Hawaii artists chances to do things like,
Wow.
I'm not gonna walk up and be like, hey, guy who just draws kind of good, and I want you to draw a comic with me. Like it's one of these things where I'll give people the same chances that were given to me. Like, hey man, do a 3-page backup story. And like people don't realize how hard it is to pace 3 pages. Like
Oh yeah.
you got to tell a whole story, and like you can't have a bunch of words. It's a whole thing. So being able to show people the same way that I was shown, it's it would be a dream come true. Plus, there needs to be more storytellers from Hawaii anyway. There's so much cool stuff, man.
Right. I just had a filmmaker my last episode that said the same thing. Like he wants to tell stories. He wants to tell, that's the whole reason why he's doing it. And for you is what's cool is I can see the passion. Like just talking, hearing you talk about it, that's straight passion. And that's the kind of people that I always have on my show. The one that's following their passion, betting on themselves, putting in the work, taking risk, failing, coming back harder, stronger. Bruh, that's the dream. That's the dream. And watching people fight for their dreams is that's what I love to see, because I'm the same way. I like to do the same kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. And the other thing too is like setting standards for yourself, right? Like, so I'm not gonna just say to myself, like, oh, I made a comic book and it was like decent. Like if I'm gonna make a comic book, dude, I want, like I told you, Invincible was my favorite book. So the guy that colored Invincible was a guy named John Rauch. And I just straight up went to him and was like, yo, bro, like, I like what you do. What would it cost for you to work with me on some stuff? And he did, man. I did like a little pitch for a couple publishers called World Breaker, and he colored that for me, and like we've been friends ever since. And
That's insane. That's super cool.
but the thing about John is like you don't get to just like talk to John and have him be like, everything you do is great. Yeah, like he's not that guy. So the first like script I gave him one time, he was like, "You got all this crap in here. You don't need all this crap." Like, you know, the best way to make comics is to use the bare minimum of your words, and let the artist tell a story. Trust them. you know, when he read Mauka, it was like I was ready for it, man. Like I was like,
You're ready for the backlash.
this guy gonna tell me everything I need to know right now. And he was like, you know, I got no notes, man. Like it's a
Wow.
complete story. He's like, I was, you know, I mean, it was huge. I don't think he realized it, but like for me, that was huge. I've never done
That's
anything
awesome.
that he hasn't had some kind of positive input that might not have felt great at the time. But then I had my other friend Kyle that basically just said like, this is a complete book, man. Like this is what artists are trying to do. This is what creators are trying to do. So there's no doubt in my mind one of these publishers is going to pick this thing up and run with it. The only thing that's been unfortunate is like right when we got everything done, that was when everything happened in Maui. And like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and like plug my book, while all that's going on.
Yeah.
So I allocated money from what we used to make like stuff for the book. We made like t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. So I like downgraded the shirts so we could save $1,000. And we're giving 1,000 to people from Lahaina, and we're trying to raise more awareness, get more of an ability to give more money. But like, there was like a couple solid weeks there where it was like we weren't saying anything.
Yeah.
It's not the time to do this.
Well,
But
as moving forward, people need that positive energy, but because like I was just with two people from Maui this past weekend, and they came to visit us just to get away because it's so heavy there that they just needed to be around us to give them some positive energy and vibes. And I'm pretty sure a comic book would do that. You know what I mean? Like it could, for the moment they're reading it, would take them away for a little bit, or put
yeah,
the stuff they're dealing with on pause until they're done reading it. Like stuff like that is could mean a lot as well. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think one of the things that's made it hard is like I had a whole storyline pitched out in my head for like 5 issues is how long I want this story to last, and then we have an option to do 5 more issues that would tell like an extension of the story. Um, the way I had it planned out, dude, there's just some like really odd similarities.
Oh,
And I was like,
maybe
we're gonna
you're a
have to like
prophet.
we're gonna have to I hope not, man. I hope
Yeah.
not, because but like, I guess at the end of the day, when you live on an island, when you care about everybody on an island, like when you think about a fire taking out an island or a chunk of an island, that's one of the most terrifying things. A natural
Yeah.
disaster taking everything out, that's one of the most terrifying things. And that's right along the lines. Maybe there being like lots of misappropriation, like people, maybe the people aren't in their best interest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a theme. So it's like having to kind of revamp some of that stuff out of respect.
I see.
I'm not gonna
Not
capitalize
yet. Yeah,
in
not
any
yet.
way, man. So like what I'll do is, that's the beauty of comics. You can go into an alternate dimension for a minute and think about it if it
Yep.
happened another way.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep plugging on and keep making issues. And like honestly, I'm hoping that we won't have to kickstart another one. Like I'm thinking with the product we've got, issue 1, and you can pick it up in Mililani at Dragon's Lair. It's a
Okay.
comic shop. It was my favorite comic shop when I was in Hawaii. My friend Luke runs that. It's a dope shop, man. But he just got like 20 or 30 issues I mailed to him the other day, so they're there. They'll be available on our website, malkacomic.com, pretty soon. I got to get
Okay.
everything out to the Kickstarter people first, and everything that happened in Maui, like paying extra money to make cheap rewards, was not on my high list of things to do. I was trying to figure out where we're going to send this money
Yeah.
to help people. So it's just one of those things, man. Like it's hard not to care. It's hard not to want to tell stories, and also it's like it's really easy sometimes to know when's the time and when's not the time.
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
it wasn't the time for a little while, but I feel like now, if we get some support for the comic, there's going to be more eyeballs on the platform. You
Yep.
know,
100%.
we can say some things, we can give anything that we can, and that's what we plan on doing. It's not like we're going to do it for a month or two. Like we in it, bro. Like just being in the MMA community, like if you were in the fight scene, man, you hung out with Maui people every month.
Oh
Like they
yeah,
were
100%.
in town for fights, bro.
Yeah.
And
We did couple in the Civic Center. We ran Ainokea and we brought the ring girls for those shows.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
man.
were there. Yeah.
I remember the Destiny events, the Maui Noko'oi
Yeah, yeah.
1 and 2, where it was like visceral Oahu versus Maui, like
Yeah.
Molokai Eve. It was everybody versus Oahu, basically what
Yeah.
it was. And like Brewski Lewis does like the Jacare.
Yeah.
Oh man, like Maui guys were hunting us down after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But
Good
there's so
time.
many good people. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many good people, bro.
Well, I don't know what to ask you. What do you do for fun, like on your free time?
Honestly, I hang out with the kids. Um, you know, we have we're trying to get back into like doing things like we did back home. Like, I was at every fight. Like, and my daughter doesn't even remember these awesome events that she was at. Like when I took my youngest daughter to John Bernard's fight, that was like the most fun ever. Like she was just in awe. And then after John like knocks the dude out and makes it look ugly on that guy, like he just comes
Yeah.
up and sits next to my daughter and is like talking to her. And like I think that's probably the most fun that I have, is like when there are opportunities to like go out and do things with my kids, and also show them that like, yeah, dad kind of knows what's up. Like
Yeah, yeah.
we can go to an event and we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
Like,
that's super cool.
yeah, other than that, dude, I mean, I make comics, man. Like that's pretty much that's what I do. Off every time, I'm always reading something or thinking of something, or sometimes it looks a lot like nothing. Sometimes it looks a lot like I'm just sitting around like getting old, but the gears are always turning.
Yeah. And your wife was a MMA fighter, right?
Yeah, Bree was a Destiny champ. She was an MMA fighter. Um, it's so crazy because everybody's like, "Oh, what do you remember most about Bree when you met her?" And I'm like, "Well, we didn't get together until we both lived on the mainland, but like what I remember about Bree was that she destroyed people.
Yep. I remember the same thing.
Once they were on the ground, it was done.
Yeah.
Like she definitely, and she's still, she might be a little more dangerous now.
We just better keep in line.
Yeah, I know, right?
You
Like,
know
hey,
what she's capable of.
yeah, you never have to worry about that. Like we already know she's the champ. I
Yeah.
just I just take the pictures, bro.
Yeah.
Like I don't want
Hey.
no part of that.
You ever shoot her when she was competing?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Oh, that's
I shot.
awesome.
Yeah, I shot pictures of her a lot. Like it's crazy now when I think about it. I always like try to go through all my old hard drives and like find them. Every once in a while, I'll find gems.
Find a
Like
little
when she
gem.
was
Yeah.
when she was with Team Elevation in Denver.
Oh
She
wow.
was on the girls' team and kind of like a leader. But it was like JJ Aldrich, who's in the UFC and did a lot of stuff. Raquel Pennington. I
Oh
remember
wow.
those girls fighting Destiny.
Yeah.
Like JJ Aldrich fought Kylan Curran, and I remember I sent JJ some of the pictures from like the weigh-ins and everything. She's like, "Holy crap!" I was like, "Yeah."
That's
Raquel
pretty
Pennington,
cool.
same thing. Her and Raquel Paului fought. That was you know pivotal.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to be able to dig that stuff up.
That's awesome. Good good way to have a common interest between you and your wife, I guess.
Yeah, man. We existed on opposite ends of the same spectrum. I don't think
Yep.
we realized how closely we aligned until we were just like talking story about being in Hawaii, and I realized that like she was this town person, and I was like like west.
Yeah.
So two totally different like situations, right? So
Yeah.
once we started piecing it together, and like it became a lot more,
That's super
obvious.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've been going for an hour, man. Let's see, where can people find your book? You said in Milani, the comic book store in Milani.
Yeah,
Where
so
else now?
Dragon's Lair in Mililani, and I'll have them up for order online at maukacomic.com. um I'm just trying to get my Kickstarter stuff out first before I like start selling them online openly. But
Nice.
and then hopefully in the next month or two we'll know something about a publisher, and things move a little slower, so it might be a year before they re-release the first issue, but I'm sure it'll be better. Once
Nice.
we have some time to kind of go through it and clean up some stuff. So
That's
uh,
awesome. And you emailed it to me, so I'm gonna read it. I didn't have a chance this weekend, but I'm definitely gonna check it out. That'll be my first comic I'm reading since I stopped reading Gru.
yeah, it's nuts, bro. I'll tell you, it's nuts. A lot
Yeah.
of people are surprised.
Wait, correction. I did read Russell's one, the one you made for Russell. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun one. But
Yeah.
it's cool because you'll definitely be able to tell the difference between the two products, right? And then
Nice.
I'm hoping that we can just keep telling more stories, and you know I've got a ton of them. So
Yep. Well, social media wise, where can people find you?
um at King Editor, Instagram and Twitter and all that. At Mauka Comic. Um, that's pretty much it, man. That's what we do. I'm not like as avid on social media as I should be. Like it's super hard after all these years of like helping other people have their moment.
Yeah.
It feels gross for me to like try to take my moment, but I'm gonna do better. So there'll be more
Yep.
stuff posted on Mauka Comic on Instagram, and we'll probably start a TikTok at some point, and
Just don't
try
be
to.
doing those dances.
No, bro. Nah.
You and your daughters.
We'll show processes of art, and like eventually the artist that I work with, Marco DeFio, he's out of Arlington, Texas. He's such a talented guy. Like the world doesn't know what's coming. Like he is
Is it?
leveling up to a level. So like while he's taking like online requests for like, hey, what should I warm up with? Like people are gonna be paying this guy like $1,000 for those warm up sketches before long.
Nice.
So I recommend everybody get in while they can and get some stuff from Marco while it's cheap.
That's nice. Well, man, I appreciate you from coming on and like I said, I've known you forever and I always seen your work and you always had that hustle and brah, it's always good to hear people talk about their passion and brah, I'm excited to see what you can create and where you take this in the future, bro. I'll be a fan and I'll be checking you out and hopefully you'll be back on the island soon and bro, maybe we can go watch a UFC or something together, bro.
Bro,
That'll
that's
be
what I'm
super
saying.
cool.
I'm
Yep.
I'm trying to get back in December so we can link up,
Okay.
bro.
Perfect. Right
And I
on.
I appreciate you having me on, man. Like it's such a cool thing to watch because I watch the episodes. I see all the guys. Like the Kevin Yoshida episode was so killer.
Oh, yeah.
Rich Chew, that was killer. John
Yeah.
Bernard's episode was killer. So it's like, to be in that same regard is fun, man. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yep. You're definitely part of the spectrum that helped bring the old Hawaii MMA to light and grew it, right? You help grow it, and you always have a part of that is gonna always be because of you and things that you contributed to it. So I hope you feel that because I know it to be true. You know what I mean?
It was a pleasure. It was the best days of my life. I said it then. I say it now. It's the good old days.
Yeah.
But before I go, man, the most important thing that I forgot to say is, um, when people are trying to do stuff, when I was doing the MMA thing, man, when I'm doing the comic book thing, when I, doing anything that I do, it took a long time to realize that other people's success does not hinder mine. And that's probably the most important thing I can say. Like, be happy for other people, be joyous for their success, and they will be joyous for yours.
Yep.
And that's pretty much where it's all at, man.
Yep. I am 100% in belief of that. I have a saying, rising tide floats all boats. And if I help other people, it'll float my boat. If they help me, like, it'll float their boat. Positive energy will always increase positive energy. And the biggest competition you ever have to be with is yourself. And if you can better yourself every day, then you winning. You catch a W every day. And yep, I'm always about that aloha spirit. And yeah, I can see that you will be successful, and you will also be successful helping other people be successful. And like I said, that's what aloha is about. And right, you're already bringing it to the mainland already. You're already there doing it.
I love that, man. I appreciate it. It feels good. It feels good to
Yep.
hear that, because, like, you
sure.
can forget yourself sometimes. So it's
Yep.
like, it's fun. But yes, I was a part of that. It's the best time of my life, and I'll always say that.
Yep, for sure. Well, for us, you can always find us on social media, Instagram, Above the Bridge Podcast, our YouTube channel, Above the Bridge Podcast, website, atbpod.com, and my Instagram is Thaddy Daddy High. All right, man, I know it's late where you're at, and like I said, I appreciate you taking time out and coming on, and hopefully I'll see you on the rock soon, man.
Absolutely, bro. Appreciate it.
Right on. Shakas for the cameras. Okay, we're out. Shout out to the Artist Group Network. Aloha.